Hello. Working on the lights here. I need to get some dimmer lights in the back, Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday Night Raw. I'm Dr. Andi. For those of you that don't know me, I am a doctor of chiropractic and a certified animal chiropractor and have been in clinical practice just shy of 20 years. And so all the things I've learned from my clients. I'm going to shut off the phone. And if anyone who's out there, let me know where you're from. And so it's a Q&A, Tuesday Night Raw Q&A. So I'm here to answer your questions, mainly about feeding raw. Hi, Neely. And where it goes from there, this is the third week, so we're just getting started with this. So, patience, right? Patience with growing that audience. I have my notes. We talked about, because I also do weekly email. It tries to be educational. Sometimes it's just funny. Sometimes I learn something new. I usually always learn something new. But we talked about the dog's mouth this last week, which is always fun. We talked about digestion last week. But if anybody has any questions out there, we'd love to hear from you. I don't know if I have anything on my agenda to babble on about until a question comes in. Let's see who came in today. Let's see. Oh, let's talk about the little bit that I know about grain-free and kibble and DCM. I have a question that I need to do some research on. Hello, Ms. Keisha Clark. It seems to be more prevalent is the amount of cardiac issues, namely just the murmurs that are being diagnosed left and right. And, a lot of my clients are already raw feeding. So these are clients that are already raw fed. And, they do the exam, do some blood work, they need to do a dental, and then they hear a murmur, so they must run off to the cardiologist. And right now, it's just fascinating to me. Neely says it's all bogus. We might have to delve into that a little bit more, because my intuition is there's something so fishy going on. Because the last client, I think I mentioned this little Shih Tzu, the cutest. And if Cynthia ever sees this video, I apologize. The cutest Shih Tzu I have ever seen in my life, even though he tries to bite me. Only when it hurts, only when the adjustments hurt. But he is, God, 5. I could be off, but he's not real senior. And as long as he's been with mom, which has been years now, I mean, they did adopt him a little older, he's been raw fed, but if I get the story right, he fell out of the car on his face and he broke his jaw. And so they did surgery on that, fixed all that up. And then and she called and she's like, when can I see him? I'm like, that needs to heal. So we booked a couple months out. And he was supposed to have a dental last week. And that didn't happen because they heard a murmur. So now he has to go to the cardiologist. And I'm just like, what's going on? What is going on? And that's just my question. I don't have an answer. And so he's going to go do that. He didn't have his dental. He's still going to come in and get adjusted because it's been a couple months, and we're going to see what all the compensation is. I may not do much around the jaw just because we were waiting till after the dental because he was going to have x-rays. But that's where I am with that. But it's just been very interesting, and every dog has a murmur these days, and every dog needs to go to the cardiologist, and I don't get it. I'm not getting it. So I'm going to delve down that rabbit hole, and maybe I will share, well, most likely I'll share what information I find. But speaking of Miss Neely Piazza, she is going to be guest hosting these lives coming up in November because I have a trip. So you'll get to meet her. And then maybe she'll let you know what's all bogus about it. So she says. And I don't doubt Neely. I never doubt Neely. And you can ask her why you should not go to the vet. Because she just in the chat, she's like, "That's why you don't go to the vet." Yeah. Well. Yeah, kind of like when hip dysplasia was being diagnosed left and right. Well, yeah, hip dysplasia, ACL tears. Those are still being done left and right. And let's see, ACL tears. I do want to turn you loose with my people. I find you delightful. And if they can't handle you, then maybe they're not my people. Neely's hardcore, folks. Hardcore. You don't mess with her. You'll have a lot of fun. She's hysterical. And she's brilliant. So she'll be here November 1st and the 8th covering me. So I'm so grateful for that. Let me let Sam out of the room or he won't shut up. I don't even know how he got in here. Go. Go. All right. Hip dysplasia. And Keisha says, yay, Neely. ACLs. The anterior cruciate ligament in people, in dogs, it's the, oh my gosh, it's the CCL. Cruciate ligament. Shoot. Collateral cruciate ligament. Jesus. Okay, it's been a day. And pretty much if you do take your dog to the vet and they go in limping in the rear, they will 90% of the time be diagnosed with a partial or total tear of that CCL. Okay. And the only way you can prove that is by going in and doing surgery. And I have heard of one surgeon, that went in and the cruciate was intact. So they closed the dog up and told the owner that it wasn't a CCL tear. I think in that dog, it turned out to be cancer, bone cancer somewhere else, if I remember correctly. But that's not the point. The point is, even if, let's say the surgeon goes in and the cruciate's intact, do they close the dog up and say, oops, we made a mistake, or do they go ahead and perform the surgery anyway? That's the cynic in me. Right? And so many people want to support the knee and repair the knee with palliative measures and braces. And I get asked all the time, and it's not for the faint of heart. And braces, I find, are mostly just very difficult. There's been a few cases where they were helpful, but most of the time they rub, they don't stay up, they don't fit right, they're expensive, they have to be refitted. There's a lot of work involved. And yeah, I would suspect very few would admit to being wrong, right? Well, if they just close the dog up, that's a much cheaper bill too. They say that out loud. And, those TPLOs, where they pound metal implants into both the femur and the tibia to stabilize the joint, well, that joint's going to be pretty damn stable. That dog is probably not going to be limping after that. So the owner wouldn't know the difference. Keisha asked, does working in water help with that kind of injury, with the CCL, the ACL tear, partial tear? Absolutely. Because 80% of your joint stability comes from the muscles. That's why in people, they don't do as many I'll get back to that in a second. So 80% of all your joints is stabilized by muscles. You have ligaments also in there, and that's what these are. They're ligaments. Your tendons are attached to that. They're the muscle portion, so they're part of the muscle that attaches to the bone is your tendons, and then your ligaments are bone to bone, and they're ligaments. So they're a little bit different tissue, and they don't have the healing capacity as tendons and muscles do. I'm not saying that the body can't do it, but you've got to give the body the nutrients to do so. And Dr. Ava Frick said this in a lecture that I was in, and I suspected it, and I'm so glad somebody else said it. The two major reasons the CCL tears on your dog is they're kibble fed and they were spayed or neutered too early. Those are your two main reasons. Yes, it happens during activity. Yes, they can be playing too hard. But if the body doesn't have the building blocks to have strong ligaments, they will tear. They don't have the nutrients from the food. If you're feeding a kibble, if you're feeding a kibble is devoid of the nutrition that your ligaments need to stay strong, stay healthy, and be prepared to react. Your entire nervous system needs to react when, let's say, your dog's running around the dog park and they get hit by the dog that they're playing with, right? The whole nervous system has to react, and it has to react super fast, and it has to protect joints. And if your nervous system is healthy because you're feeding it proper nutrition, and you're going to the chiropractor, that body's going to be able to support everything, protect the joint, and weather the blow. And your dog's going to continue going on and playing with all of his dog friends. If their nutrition is not there to support the ligaments, the muscles, your nervous system isn't being adjusted and tuned up, the body's not going to react fast enough, and that damage is going to go through into the joint. And then spay and neuter. And what does spaying and neutering do? It reduces the hormones in the body. So you want to wait until this is paramount in your giant breeds. It's just to spay and neuter a Great Dane or a Newfie at 8 weeks, as rescues are mandated to do, is ridiculousness. And when you see, I have a Great Dane that comes in, and mom knew this, and his name is Captain, and he is one of the funniest looking. He's adorable, and one of the funniest built Great Danes. He is literally standing on stilts, and he has very little body mass, but he was neutered at 8 weeks. And mom knew this, and mom's a raw feeder. And so he has the nutrition part of it. And we manage everything with regular chiropractic. He's in here every 2 to 3 months, if he needs it or not. And he's doing really well. But you work with what you got. But when vets are still recommending at 6-7 months before females go through their first heat, and these big boys have 18 months, 2 years under their belts to be spayed and neutered, it's wrong. What we want the growth plates in the bones to close. Because if they're left open and you spay and neuter and remove the hormones, the signaling to the bones to close that growth plate doesn't happen. So the bones keep growing. And if the bones keep growing, they stretch and strain the tendons and ligaments. So if you see that Great Dane, that Labrador, some of the Labradors are notoriously, they look like they have these super long legs. Most likely they were spayed and neutered way too young. Neely says, did I don't think I answered the water question. We'll go back. Of all the ones I've seen, surgery had no effect, and raw diet with rest and no more toxic insults, they get back to almost normal. Well, I think the surgery works miracles. I think they're rock solid. And then the vet tells, I'm not condoning it, Neely. I'm just saying, when you pound in metal implants into two bones, that joint gets pretty damn stable. But what doesn't happen is the rest of that statement. Raw diet and like the raw diet, like if you're kibble fed, you do a surgery and you continue kibble feeding, and then the vet will tell you, oh, the other knee will go in a year. That other knee goes because you haven't changed the nutrition. Plus, you now have a bionic joint on one side and the other joint can't keep up. So the TPLO, I'm not going to know what that stands for off the top of my head today. I'm sorry, folks. Is the most popular surgery here in the Denver metro area. The surgery is actually regional. There's another surgery out there called extracapsular. It's a fishing line technique. They literally do a basically fishing line on one side of the ligament and tie it up on the other, and just reinforce what the body's actually doing. There's no plates involved in that one. That honestly, if I ever considered it, would be the surgery I would do. There's no way you're doing a TPLO on one of my dogs. It's just not happening. I even had a gal. I love this. She drives to Arkansas to see her family, takes the dog and sees the family vet out there to do an X-cap surgery. For, I don't even know. It was so ridiculously cheap because I think TPLOs around here are going $5,000-$6,000, maybe more these days. I don't even know. But like I said, you have the people that go on this journey of rehabbing, resting, letting the body handle it. Because, oh yeah, the body will lay down scar tissue. It's amazing. The body knows how to fix itself. Bloody amazing. It just takes time. And people are impatient. The dogs are impatient. I get that. But the body can lay down scar tissue, which some veterinarians will tell you is a bad thing. Oh, we don't want the scar tissue. No, you pretty much want the scar tissue. Scar tissue is stupid strong. The body almost overcompensates. So it is possible for that to fix that. And the other thing that vets like to scare people with is if you don't do the surgery, you're going to have arthritis. Well, I hate to tell you folks, any trauma to the joint sets it up for future arthritic changes. That includes surgery. Surgery is always a traumatic event. It always sets up the body for arthritic changes and or scar tissue and or inappropriate scar tissue. So always keep that in mind. And now those plates also should come out because there has been, I believe there's studies out there or anecdotals that it does set up the dog for possible bone cancer in the future because it's an assault, it's a trauma to the body. Neely's like, a lot of rescues are a racket, not a fan, and that's not a popular opinion, but oh well. Rescues are rough. I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily even the rescues as much as what the laws that they have to abide by. I don't know where I land. Some of them are so difficult. Some try and do their best. I don't know. Yeah, then they blow out the other one, right? Because they don't change the nutrition. I have a gal, she's got this wonderful rescued pit bull. She's just delightful, sweetest little thing, and you could tell from her homemade ear job that life before this home was a little rough, and she's just delightful. And pitties are, I think, and your bully breeds are very difficult to diagnose an ACL or CCL tear. They're just so muscled up. And mom wants to rehab it. They don't want to do the surgery. She bought a brace. I didn't see the brace. And she's going to do this and going to do this. And I'm like, you've got to change the food. And when we got to that part, she stopped texting me and asking me stuff. And I do know she's on a pretty low quality kibble. I'm like, don't bother if you're not going to feed the joint with the nutrition it needs to fix itself. Neely says, why would you spend that much money and put a dog through all that when all you have to do is real food and crate rest? Yeah. And the kicker with the crate rest, or the kicker to when they are, gosh, this happens so often. People get to 7.5 weeks, and it's 8 to 12 weeks is this journey of getting soft tissue to heal up really well. Muscles, ligament, there's an old adage, I don't know if it's in the dog world, but in the people world, you're almost better off breaking your bone. It will heal faster than soft tissue. So just keep that in mind. And when you're dealing with soft tissue and you're dealing with muscles and you're dealing with tendons and ligaments, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, it takes time. And people generally just run out of patience with that. It's like the 7.5, 9.5 weeks where you're getting a little lenient, you're letting them out, that they go zooming out that back door after a squirrel and just, and they come back dead lame. Do you do it again? No, I've had like handfuls of clients that have gotten that far with it. So Keisha and her are talking about those laws and the rescues. But yeah, so I don't know where I really don't know where I stand on it. I don't know. I always said I don't know if I ever needed to do the surgery, if I would or not. It would be complete. It's all so individual, and that's the other part of just conventional big box medicine is you have this, you do this. Well, okay, maybe this pit bull at 6 would do really well with the surgery, but the 13-year-old Yorkie really doesn't need it, right? Like, it's so individual. What have owners done in the past? Have they gone the 8 extra miles and are willing to do all the work it takes to do palliative care on a knee? If they've never done anything like that and they've always gone what I consider the easy route of a pill or that, then maybe this journey isn't for them and their dog. It's just so individual. And I don't think people do enough of their own education and informing themselves and listening to podcasts and going beyond, the AKC website or the VCA website. Get out there, talk to some people, educate yourself. And yes, I'm a dog snob too, Neely. It's okay. I think we're in good company, right? So that's a little bit of that, but you got to change the nutrition. You want to get those knees to heal up. Hey, and even if you do the surgery, change the nutrition. No shame in dog snobbery. None here. You probably have these. I don't know how many moments you have. I have lots of moments. I probably get asked on a daily basis what I feed. Well, not even what I feed. What do I recommend? What kibble do I recommend? And this is where my dog snobbery comes in. And I'm like, you should not feed that stuff. But mine's on a really good kibble. It's on that limited ingredient kibble. Yeah. You want to talk about limited ingredients? Meat, bone, organs. It's very limited. You want to go limited? Meat, bone, organs. Start there. Then you can get fancy. It's very simple. Meat, ground up bone, organs. Yes, quality kibble is an oxymoron. There is no such thing. There is no such thing. There's really low quality kibble, but there is meat, bones, organs. That's it. It's easy. Let's talk about that. Well, kibble's pretty damn easy, right? You know, just open the bag, pick up the scoop, throw it in the bowl, right? But I think people think raw feeding is a lot harder than it is. It is going to be more time consuming than opening a bag and scooping a scoop into a bowl. Okay. I'll be honest with you. There is more work involved. There is. But it's very, very simple. I know, Neely, it makes me want to oh my God. The smell of kibble. You know, you've been doing this a while when the smell of green tripe doesn't gag you as bad as the smell of kibble. There is that distinct odor of kibble. It's you can almost know it's rancid just by opening a bag. It's I know green tripe doesn't bother me nearly as much anymore. And I open a package of that pretty much every other day at about 7 a.m. Yeah, and then, kibble fed poop is just, it's beyond anything. But feeding raw is actually simple. That's why I think I talked about this a little while ago or somewhere along my travels. I don't know. But when people, I'll cook for my dog. I'm like, why would you bother cooking? I don't understand why you would bother cooking. That's a lot of work. You open up packages and you blop it in the bowl and you set it down. Oh, and people, meat, bones, organs, and a scale. You need to weigh the food. Do not eyeball your food. You will overfeed. Neely says, tripe smells like a fall stroll through a barn to me. Yeah, never met a wild dog that can make a fire to cook with. True story. But I'm like, that's a lot of work. I barely cook for myself. Why would you want to do that? I don't get that. Had a little dog in here. I met him when he was really big, really itty bitty, and then now he's not that big. And I only do this with clients that I've known I do it with more and more clients, period. It might be a little rude, but I put my hands on him and I'm like, oh my God, he was fat. And Mom's like, yeah, we had to go to lightly cook this week because he wasn't eating. I'm like, because you're overfeeding him. Again, it's simple. Your dog should be dancing around your feet. Dancing around my feet. Excited to eat. Excited to eat. And you know how many people come in with these dogs that, I don't want to eat. Sometimes they're already raw-fed dogs. I don't want to eat. You're overfeeding. Cut it back. Cut it back till they are so bloody excited that the food's coming out that there is drool and they're going to trip you. Neely says, I eyeball everything. LOL. Dee Dee always yells at me, but I have 4 perfect weight corgis. So, yes, that's fine. I could eyeball everything too and have perfectly weighted dogs because I pay attention to that. But I don't want to spend any more money than I have to because my Doberman eats, we do 2 meals a day. I've been playing around. Sometimes they do 1 meal a day. I just been like changing their food all around, because you can do that. And so he usually eats 11 ounces twice a day or 22 ounces once a day. If I go to 10 and a half ounces, he is acting like he is starving. It's amazing. Like he's like begging, mine all beg, right? Okay, we have bad mannered dogs, blah, blah, blah. It's only a problem if you think it's a problem in your household. It's my point of view. 10 and a half ounces, he's like, I'm dying here. It's so funny. But if I fed him 14 ounces, 15 ounces, his weight wouldn't change. But why would, and he doesn't act any different. So why would I spend that much more money? That's where I come from on that. But if your dog is fat, you're doing a shit job eyeballing too, if that's how you do it. And people are so stuck in, I've always fed this amount. And I just told you, I always feed this amount, right? But I tried it. I'm like, okay, what does 10 and a half ounces do? That's 1 ounce a day that I dropped him. And he's like, oh, dying. So you can eyeball it, but eyeball your dog. Or if you got a fuzzy dog, reach down and touch it. See how much padding is there. But that's why I measure. And Neely has just as many dogs as I do. One dog away from a intervention. I just don't want to put any more food down than I have to. That's where I come from. Hi, Charity. I was talking about you earlier. Did you hear me? You're my wonderful, fabulous. No, Riggs is. Did I say no, Neely? 1 ounce on that little. No, that's that little amount. That's Riggs. 11 ounces, 22 ounces. That's not a little. It's not a little dog. How much do you feed your dogs? You don't know. You eyeball everything. So I was talking about you, Charity, and how you go to Arkansas for knee surgery. That didn't happen because, well, she did have patience and she did heal it up, and her dogs are raw fed. All right, have it. Oh, good. Yeah, I bet they did think you were starving your dogs. Raw fed dogs tend to be a little skinnier, and it freaks people out. Right? Yeah. So, all right, folks, driving home. Okay, that's awesome. So Charity went, this time they went for a tooth. Oh, Paul put him under. He doesn't have a fractured tooth, so we just got the teeth cleaned. This vet is awesome. This vet only does work when there's work to be done. That's great. I'm assuming Paul's the vet. I'm going to go out on a limb there. Did you take x-rays? I'm curious now. I hope you're not driving and texting me in the chat. No, she's going to come back. All right, so let's see. Surgeries, knees, teeth. Give it tripe. We talked about tripe. Do we need to talk about poop? We always talk about poop. Smell like kibble. I don't know, folks. There's no more questions. Might be a short one tonight. Any more dog snobbery out there? We were. Look at that. Keisha knows etiquette. There's a little cute. And she said, do you find raw feeding helps dogs hold their adjustments better or longer? Okay. He said he didn't do x-rays, but all the teeth look good. So whose teeth? Busa's? There we go. But anyway, she'll get back to me. Yes. Do I find raw feeding helps dogs hold their adjustments better, longer? Yes. Very simply. Yes. I love actually when I get a kibble fed dog in the office and they switch to raw. That's like the biggest example to me, because they go from this puffiness that I don't really notice as puffiness until it's gone. Because when animals, people, when we do it, when dogs do it, when cats do it, when we eat carbohydrates, sugar, starch, we retain a lot of water. And there's also a lot of inflammation caused in the body. And so it's almost this puffiness that once they go raw, that just dissipates. And I can tell it from sometimes one visit to the next, because they come in every couple weeks. And let's say they did the transition at the beginning of those couple weeks. And if you've ever gone keto, carnivore, low carb, cut out the carbohydrates, just dropped, your gluten and dairy, even if you've done this, you usually drop weight. That's usually just water weight, right? Especially in the beginning. Same thing for the animals. You stop feeding it kibble, you go onto a species appropriate raw meat diet, boom, they're going to drop water. They're going to reduce that inflammation. So once that inflammation is gone, the body holds its adjustments better. And as much as I tell clients this and they're just resistant and kibble is easy, they need a little kibble for whatever reason. This reminds me of Charity too. Pen to paper. I had a lady in today. One dog gets all raw because when she tried to give him a little kibble, it messed up his GI. Yes, 1 ounce from 22 ounces, not from 11. Correct. Yes, it wasn't that much. I was like, did I say that wrong? Maybe I said it wrong. Yes, I only dropped him 1 ounce from his total of 22 ounces. Anyway, lady in today. So one dog gets all raw. One dog still gets a third of the limited ingredient kibble because he can tolerate it. But pen to paper, I wonder how much money. She's admitted it, that it's to save money. And he can tolerate it, but the other dog can't. So she's like, I won't ever give him kibble again. So you see how it reacts in one dog, but you continue to give it to another still. Interesting. And he can tolerate it. Well, what does that mean? Right? He's in my office because he's a senior. His lumbar spine is rock. It's like a 2x4. He had previous trauma of being hit by car, but we're going to give him a pro-inflammatory food. But going to come and see me because he's inflamed and needs adjustments more often. Just saying. Yes, when people insist on mixing. But pen to paper, I wonder how much money she's saving. A tish, if any? I can't believe the prices of kibble these days. That makes me pull my hair out. Neely's like, none. And if you go to a raw diet, you know how many less supplements you have to give? You probably don't, because you need to go raw to find out. But if you add up all your kibble, all the supplements, and transfer that amount of money into a raw diet, biggest bang for your buck. There's no guarantees in life, but the biggest bang for your buck in your animal's health is going raw. End of discussion. Does it fix absolutely everything? No. but it's going to be the biggest bang for your buck. And I say that every day. Oh, my client, any client that'll listen to me. And then, yeah, stop the mixing. Please stop the mixing. Raw means no vet bills. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dee Dee we were doing, came out Monday, right? The podcast, and Dee Dee found this study. She's the CEO of Raw Dog Food and Company, where I get all my food from. What was I going to say? Oh, that they did the study in France that people that raw feed don't consult their vet very often. They don't go in very often. They're skeptical of what their vets have to tell them. And I'm like, I might resemble that, right? And I was listening to Dr. Ian Billinghurst. There's your plug, Neely. And he also said that we as raw feeders need to be educating our veterinarians, because the people that are in the office with the vets are not the raw feeders. The raw feeders are not at the vet's office because their animals are getting proper nutrition and healthy. Haley says, hi there. This is my first live. I have a kitty who had emergency surgery in August, ate a piece of exercise mat, had an obstruction. Hashtag stop the mixing. She just had to go back to the vet for a bladder infection. They gave her a 14-day antibiotic shot. Oh, that she didn't give permission for. Well, the good news on that, Haley, is it was a shot, so it'll bypass the stomach, and it'll bypass the GI tract. So you don't have the assault of the antibiotics in the stomach, in the intestines, in the guts that you need to rebuild. I don't know if I want to say this on a live across the internets, the interwebs, but you could turn that veterinarian into the board for doing that without your permission. In my opinion, you should, because this also has to stop. The care, not even care. It's not even care. The treatment without permission needs to stop. It happened to my mom too, with a rabies vaccine with her old dog. She said something to the tech about, I have some questions. And by the time he came back from the back, he had already got his rabies. So she was not willing to go to the board. But yes, treatment without permission. I know they are so toxic. Antibiotics are not to be given willy-nilly, and they're just like, oh, they need a little bit of this. They are horribly toxic. I would like to think it's got to bypass it a little bit, Neely. Now, where does it go? Right? It does, does it, how, and I don't know the answers to this. I haven't done it. Oh my. So they are toxic. And then does it end up in the bloodstream? And then is it then treated like it leaked out of the gut, and then you have an inflammatory response that way, but you're not necessarily decreasing the microbiome in the gut, which is not a better option, right? If that's how it's being treated and it's going into the bloodstream and causing an inflammatory response, a global inflammatory response, right? Haley also said the vet asked if I just wanted antibiotics or do I want a urine analysis. I said, shouldn't we know what we're treating first? And then he said, "Oh, we're feeling rich today." He sounds delightful. I'm sorry. Yes, you generally do want to know what you're treating first. And once, and they'll do, this doesn't make any sense to me either. Neely, I'm sure, can tell me why it doesn't make any sense. And she'll say, don't go to the vet. But sometimes they'll do both, right? They're going to send it off to be cultured, but you're already going to start on an antibiotic. Well, is that the correct antibiotic? We don't know, right? Sometimes, well, let's do a round of antibiotics, and if it doesn't go away, then we'll culture. Well, then you're going to get, it's going to be incorrect information. And then if you go to other places on the internet, and do some education, a lot of homeopathic vets, and Neely can correct me if I'm wrong, do you even need to treat a urinary tract infection? Is it really a urinary tract infection? Or can you do other things that are going on, right? Not going on, but what else is there, God, I'm trying to think of what I read in an article, and it's not coming to my brains here. I know. Okay, so the bacteria aren't causing the problem in the first place. They're there to heal the problem. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Maybe I can find the article, and it was brilliant on how to another way to look at UTIs as not really UTIs. And my little kitty here, I go to homeopathics. If she starts piddling in the sink, which usually means it's a stress response, but it's not a UTI. But she's not using the litter box either. So I must be the end of the day. Yeah, homeopathy is very effective for UTIs most of the time. I know maybe we should just stop looking at bacteria as always bad. We kind of are composed, I think, of more bacteria than cells in our body, aren't we? Like we might want to work on coexisting and encouraging a relationship instead of always just trying to kill them all dead, which ends up killing everything dead. What is the homeopathic I use with her? But I actually, instead of even trying to get it in her, I put a little shot glass of distilled water and I drop a little ball in it and I just leave it in weird places around the house. And she drinks out of it. She thinks she's getting away with something that she shouldn't be drinking it. It's great. She just knows what she needs and does it. Yeah, right? Bacteria are not the bad guys. We kind of need them. But let's get back to Haley's actual question. Sorry about that, dear. How can I help rebuild her gut? All right. So what is she currently eating? And I guess in supplement wise too. Okay. Okay, cool. Oh, good. Thank you. I'm so glad you know things, Neely. Because I'm like, we kind of need flora for kitties, and I don't really know what flora to give kitties. So what is that? Felix's Flora. Do you see that, Haley? Repertoried Beast, who happens to be a Canadian company. So, and I'm going to assume a lot here that the strains in there are designed more for kitties. There you go. and keep up the good work. Where I'm at. Be more. I'm more interested. What did she ate? What? She ate an exercise mat and had surgery. So we have gut assault there too. So regardless of, and not to discount it, the UTI and the antibiotics, we need to work on that gut biome any which way. There was, like we talked about earlier, trauma to the gut. So I think that would help all of that. And maybe that is why the bladder, there we go. I've admitted this, I'll admit it again. I need to do some more of my own education with Adored Beast. It just hasn't happened in the midst of everything. So they have the kitty one, you can do love bugs and then gut soothe. But yeah, just the assault from the surgery and the inflammation and the reaction to the body from the piece of exercise mat. This would probably be a really good idea to repopulate and relax that whole gut biome. And that may be why the bladder ended up overreacting too. You are delightful, Haley. I love it. Cause the infection. He immediately said diet. So what was he even thinking? Because if he just assumed it was kibble fed, or he just thought you were one of them, right? Oh, that does not sound like a fun experience. I hope you and your kitty can get over the trauma. That sounds terrible. That's rough. Right, Neely? Another reason not to go to the vet? No. Sounded like she needed the exercise mat removed. I know this is a different visit, but well, I wish you and your kitty the best. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. And be a little, and then, yeah. I think that's all I got. My gosh, guys, I'm sorry. I'm fading here. I am fading. Any last minute? Any last minute questions? Well, you can always get them to me by heading to my website, animalmagiccare.com. I think I have a contact page there that you can find. The email is just as easy, animalmagiccare@gmail.com. That comes straight to me. If there's anything you'd like me to cover in the future. You're welcome, Haley. Thank you. Thank you for coming on live. So appreciate you. Thank you, Keisha. Another awesome round. Thank you all for being here. There is no live. There's just me staring into the abyss without you guys. So I'm so grateful for all of you and all of your questions and all of your kiddos. Every Monday, Dee Dee and I talk on the raw dog food. Oh gosh, the raw dog food truth. I can't say it. The Raw Dog Food Truth podcast. And we cover all kinds of topics, kind of like what we're doing here. Let's see, what else? Share this out to anybody that maybe you've been talking to about feeding raw. Maybe we touched on some other things that are going on with your friends and family's pets, and maybe they'd be interested in this. I'd be truly grateful. If you don't mind, like it. YouTube loves it when we like things and pass them along. We want to feed the beast. We're grateful for YouTube too. And I will be back here next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Oh, yes, Charity. I'll see you all on next Wednesday. Drive safe all the way back from Arkansas. And I think I'm out, folks. I think I'm out. Until next time, how much fun can you have with your animals? Bye-bye.